Hey everybody! In today's tutorial I'm going to do something I call Drunken Acrylic Reveal. I learned this technique in a painting workshop by Greta Olivas here in Austin, and I've been using this ever since because it makes such dramatic and fun backgrounds and it's very simple. Last year I used it for my Christmas cards, and here's a sample of what some of those look like. For this technique, you need acrylic paint. I'm using the Lukas Cryl Studio paints. You can use whatever you like, just experiment. I like these because they're large and somewhat fluid, and you do want the paint to be fluid for this technique. Excuse the frog in my throat. Now, once you have a little bit of paint out, you will want to water it down. I do about 2 parts paint to 1 part water, and just mix it up and paint it on. And you want all your supplies nearby because you do need to work somewhat fast with this technique, and you want the paint to still be wet when you go to the second step, which is to drop rubbing alcohol onto the wet paint. Now, since I'm starting with yellow, which is my lightest color, you will notice that it's not super dramatic yet, but the drama comes in the subsequent layers. You can also directly put alcohol on the cardstock to get bigger drops like I did on the left. This is cold press watercolor paper. You can see some of those little bubbles on the right. Now I have one that's already dry. You do need to let it dry naturally in between your steps because heating acrylic paint will cause it to bubble. So resist the temptation to use your heat gun to help it along. Now I love this Fluorescent Magenta, which is also Lukas Cryl, and I'm going to use that for my second layer. And do these in different orders. I find that you get, even when you're just using 3 paint colors, very different results just by switching up the order that you do this in. So you repeat the process with watered down magenta paint. This is quite bright. Very fun. And layer 2 is where you really start to get the drama with the alcohol. So I'll just drop a little bit on there and it reveals the color below. And it looks like those acrylic paint pours that people do with a little bit of silicone, but this is a lot less work and you can do it on your cards. For the third layer, I'm going to do turquoise, again, Lukas Cryl, and water that down and paint it on. And that is a beautiful color, and it really covers up the other 2 layers. Then when I drop this on, that's when you really get some fun because you're seeing both the yellow layer and the magenta layer underneath the turquoise. The more alcohol you use, the farther the top layer will spread apart. So you can just do it to your liking. I like a lot of that dramatic red and yellow to show underneath the blue. So I keep adding it. The more you add though, just know that you will lose some of the detail of that sort of cellular looking shape that you get from the droplets. But you'll get interesting patterns either way. You can also finish off this process by adding white or black paint on top after you've added all the colors that you want. And that will be even more dramatic because you'll have a neutral on top with multiple colors underneath. So I hope you've enjoyed this technique in this tutorial, and thanks so much for watching.